Palace, which was used as the administrative and domicile center of the Ottoman Empire for almost 400 years, is the oldest and largest palace that has survived up until today. It was built by the conqueror of Istanbul, Mehmed II, between the years 1458 and 1478, and it was up until the 19th century that other extensions were made by other sultans who ruled after him. During the reign of Sultan Abdulmecid, the palace lost its primary importance as it was seen to be inadequate for the needs of the state protocols of the 19th century, and therefore had moved to Dolmabahçe Palace, built on the Bosphorus in 1854. However, the Sultanate's treasures, the holy relics, and the archives of the empire were protected, and certain traditional ceremonies and celebrations continued to take place at Topkapi Palace. Following the abolishment of the Ottoman Sultanate in 1922, Topkapi Palace was converted into a museum on the order of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk on the 3rd of April 1924. The museum, which also offers audio guidance services, is open to the public every day of the week except on Tuesdays. Entrance is located through the main gates called Baba Humayun, which is located on the side facing Hagia Sophia. An inscription written by Ali bin Yahya as-Sufi is placed above the gate. The first courtyard, the parade court. Upon entering through the imperial gate, one enters the first courtyard. On the left side of the courtyard, the wood storehouse and the caena's hearth had existed. The remains of the administration, jail building, and the patriarchal palace, which were built at the end of the 19th century, as well as the existent Hagia Irene Church and the Imperial Mint, is located on the left side of the courtyard. Hagia Irene, which was built as the Church of the Patriarchate Palace, is the oldest structure within this courtyard. It was built during the era of Constantine I at the beginning of the 4th century. Hagia Irene, which the Byzantinians described as the Chapel of the Patriarchate, remained within the Sultanate's walls, which circled the Topkapi Palace following the conquest of Istanbul. And as it was not converted into a mosque, there weren't any significant architectural changes made. As well as various craftsmanships like carpentry, bookbinding, gilding, and level works for the palace, gifts that were sent to foreign states were also prepared in these workshops. The workshop called Hunerveran within the courtyard was transformed into an imperial mint for coining money once the palace was abandoned during the 19th century. On the right side of the first courtyard, there existed the treasury, the Enderun Hospital, the bakehouses for the palace's bread and Turkish bagels, the Hasfırın Mosque, the areas where the wardens resided, and a water gauge which contained the fountain from Mahmud II's era. One of the most interesting corners of the first courtyard was the Fountain of the Executioner, or the Politics Fountain as it is also called. This structure can be found just before you enter through the Gate of Salutation. The woodsheds of the palace were also located in this area. The first structures, the tiled kiosk and archaeology museums, were also located within this first courtyard. The second courtyard, the Divan Square. The two-towered entrance gate, called Babus Salam, which is the passage to the actual palace and also called the middle entrance, has become a symbol of glory of Topkapi Palace and the Ottoman Empire. This was the entrance in which only the Sultan could enter through on horseback, while the Grand Viziers and other state officials would step down from their horses. The women of the palace would pass through it in their sultanate carriages. The two towers above the gate were built during the era of Kanuni Sultan Solomon. Within these towers, there also existed the gatekeeper chambers, which was used to welcome foreign ambassadors who came to the palace until permission for their entrance were granted. The Divan Square, which was built in the 1460s as the second courtyard of the palace, was a ceremonial ground where the state affairs took place. On the right side of this courtyard were the enthronement ceremony called Julus, as well as celebration events, ambassador receptions, and the ceremony of paying the janissaries every 3 months took place, is where the palace kitchens are located behind the porches. One of the most valuable collections of Topkapi Palace Museum are the Chinese porcelains, which are exhibited together with the Japanese porcelains in Matbah-ı Amire, in other words, the kitchen. The copper and bronze artifacts are exhibited within the Helvahane section of the kitchen. In the Istanbul glass and porcelain section of the Sherbethane and Helvahane, there are almost 2,000 pieces of artifacts. The Ottoman and European silverware, which have been exhibited in the kitchen section, as well as the European porcelain and glassware, are not currently on exhibition. The Kubbe Altı, which is the only tower of the palace located on the left side of the Divan Court, where the Imperial Council meetings were held, is the Justice Tower, which symbolizes the location where justice is represented. The outer treasury building is located next to the Kubbe Altı chamber, where the artillery collection is exhibited. The artillery collection of the Topkapi Palace Museum, which consists of 52,000 pieces of arms belonging to the Arab, Emevi, Mamluk, Iran, Turkish, Crimean Tatar, Indian, European, and Japanese cultures, is one of the forthcoming collections in the world, with its pieces representing a period of 1300 years. The arms belonging to Fatih Sultan Mehmed, Bayezid II, Yavuz Sultan Selim, Kanuni Sultan Süleyman, Selim II, Mehmed III, Ahmed I, and many other Ottoman sultans, grand viziers, pashas, silahdara, make an indelible impression with their fine craftsmanship and adornments. On the left side of the second courtyard, in the corner of the Kubbe Altı chamber, is where the gate of carts of the harem section is located. On the left side of the salutation gate, there are two fountains built during the time of Sultan Ahmed III, while on the right side there is a prayer facility belonging to the era of Sultan Selim III, and there are huge pillars going back to the early Byzantine era. On the Sultan's path, which leads from the salutation gate to the Gate of Felicity, there is a cistern from the Byzantine era, and on the Vizier path leading to the Kubbe Altı are the stones of salutation. The third courtyard, the Enderun Court. The Enderun Court is like a citadel within a castle. When the doors of the court, which are surrounded by stone structures, are closed, it is impossible to enter into this area. The courtyard, which consists of a 9-decare area, mostly accommodates dormitories. Once through the Gate of Felicity, the first structure located in the Enderun Court is the Chamber of Petitions, or the Audience Chamber. The area behind the Chamber of Petitions is where the Library of Sultan Ahmed III exists, which is located in the middle of the courtyard. On the right side of the court is the Enderun School and Music Room, which was the palace university raising high state officials, the dormitory of the expeditionary forces, the remains of a hammam belonging to the era of Sultan Selim II, and the Fatih Kiosk, where the treasures of the palace are exhibited today. As well as having a great economic, spiritual, and historical value, a great part of the imperial treasury includes the gifts presented to the sultans during the visits of the foreign ambassadors, gifts for the wedding ceremonies, births, and during the circumcision celebrations of the sultan's sons. While some of these gifts in the treasury include gifts from all corners of the world, some of them, on the other hand, are the works of art of local artists who had presented these to the sultans, which in return provided them with the support and bounties of the sultans, as well as receiving new orders for other pieces of art. Uthman's sword, as well as the world-famous spoonmaker's diamond, is exhibited in the 4th Treasury Room. Within the wards, on the right side of the 3rd courtyard, is the collection of the Ottoman Sultan's attires. In the Sultan's attire collection, which includes the most prosperous samples of Ottoman fabrics, consists of all the attire of the sultans and princes' clothing, beginning from the second half of the 15th century until the beginning of the 20th century. The left side of the 3rd courtyard is where the privy chamber with its 4 domes are located. The holy relics are exhibited and preserved here. Amongst the most important holy relics gathered between the 16th and the first half of the 20th century include the cloak of the Prophet Muhammad, the beard of the Prophet, the case in which his broken tooth from the Uhud War is kept in, his footprints, letters, seal, bow and arrow, the keys of the Kaaba, water spout of the Kaaba, and the casing of the Black Rock. Amongst the trusts of the other prophets and the followers are Prophet Abraham's cooker, Prophet Moses' walking stick, Prophet David's sword, Prophet Joseph's frock, swords belonging to the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, and a shirt, cloak, prayer mat, and chest belonging to Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad. Next to the cloak of the Prophet is where the dormitory of the Royal Pages Wing is located. This area exhibits the imperial portraits of the sultans. This collection, which is very valuable in terms of the sultan's portraits, presents the gravures, oil paintings, watercolor paintings, and other paintings on tusks of 36 sultans who have ruled the Ottoman Empire since its establishment in 1299. The 4th courtyard, the imperial sofa. The area in which the expansive porch of the hall of the privy chamber, with its double-lined columns, is the porch known as the imperial sofa or marble sofa. This area, which consists of a flower garden and a marble pool terrace, is one of the most dearest locations of Topkapi Palace. The circumcision room, iftar kiosk, Revan kiosk, and Baghdad kiosk are also located in the marble sofa. Entrance to the imperial sofa is through a 3-meter-long stairway from the marble sofa. This area, which accommodates the sofa kiosk and the chief physician tower, is also the flower garden. The Mecidiye kiosk, garment room, and the sofa mosque are also located on the final terrace facing the Marmara Sea. The harem. The harem, which forms one of the most important areas of Topkapi Palace and where the sultans had resided with their families, is a very crucial complex in terms of historical architecture, as it has reflected the attributes of different architectural styles belonging to the 16th century until the beginning of the 19th century. This area has been meticulously circled by high walls, separating it from the salutation area and the areas of administrative functions. There are more than 300 rooms in the harem, with 9 bathhouses, 2 mosques, 1 hospital, wards, and a laundry room. It had been severely damaged during a fire in 1665. The current state of the harem has been attained by many years of renovations and additions. The general structure of the harem is formed by courtyards following one another. The doors which separate these courtyards lead to the wards, rooms, kiosks, and administrative service buildings.